Welcome back, everyone, to the Whiskey and Business Podcast. I'm your host, Travis, and you know Josh.
What's up, dudes and gals?
And today, we have Brandon.
Hello.
From Apostate Cigars.
That's me.
And our topic for today is business out of boredom, which I hear you have a few things to say about that.
We'll talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, normally, so we were talking before this, and it was a perfect opportunity to talk about businesses that are launched specifically because you're just like, what do we want? Let's just do this. Let's just create this, or, let's open up this, right? Out of just randomly speaking with friends or family, which is a little bit more, or I guess solo, but, mainly I want to discuss like the duo or the partnership way of it, because it's a little bit more unique of working with somebody that's like your best friend or your family member, and just let's just.
Well, it's like when you're in your 20s and you're talking to your buddies and you're like, we should open a bar. You know what I mean? Like, how many people actually do it?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's that.
It's so exhilarating too, especially if you get that buddy brainstorm moment. Because how many times have we been drunk and wanted to invent a new design for the toilet?
Yeah, or you're like, I have a great idea for an app.
Right.
Yeah.
But the businesses that actually start from that follow through and become something completely successful.
Yeah, there's the talking about it stage, and then there you eventually get to the we should really actually do this stage.
Yeah.
Yep. And then so also, since it's the Whiskey and Business Podcast, and we've been doing a lot of TBD talks lately, so it's a nice refresher. So today we have Old Forester 1910. Travis hit me up earlier, and I asked him what our guest would like in terms of flavor profile. And sure enough, Eagle Rare was a good choice, but obviously everybody knows you can't just go and pick it up from the shelf.
Yeah, it's not just on the market, is it?
And I definitely don't want to drink the only one I have in my collection. But the closest variant I found was the Old Forester, just with a subtle difference of it's a little bit sweeter and richer in taste, without the cherry aftertaste. This gets more of a banana note. So
it's got a really long buttery finish too.
Yes.
Good.
Man, it's sleek. So guys, so cheers.
Cheers.
Let's get the podcast started.
So,
man, that's just good.
Boredom
is an element of why I'm here. But I won't call it that. What we'll call it is a constant need to be doing something new. Really?
the entrepreneurial itch.
Yeah, or even if it's not business oriented, it's just like, how can I scratch that itch today? How can I feel like I've contributed something or created something or added value, even if it's just perceived value in my own head, Yeah. So boredom is an element of that, because that's what gets you to thinking. But I don't think I could comfortably sit here and tell you that we launched Apostate Cigars because we were bored. We launched Apostate Cigars because it was the middle of a pandemic, and we're both creative types. Me and my partner Kendrick in Salt Lake City, who owns Beehive Cigars. I was the GM at the time, and pandemic hit, and we're doing curbside pickup only because we can't let people into the store because of social distancing restrictions from the health department. So we've got time on our hands, and it was like you talking to your buddies, hey, we should start a bar. We had always had that, hey, we should think about making a cigar someday, right? Maybe just for the shop, right? Maybe it's just a house blend with a band on it that we blend and it's ours. And, we could sell it to other retailers if they want it, but that's not the goal. 2020 allowed us to talk about that more because we had time, and it allowed us to say, actually, I think we should do this. And those conversations spread out from there into, okay, what are the logistics? Are we going to do a house blend, or is this going to be something bigger? Turns out it was something bigger. And you have the conversations with the right people, and you just get started. You just go. You just have to. You make a phone call, and you get started.
Yeah,
that's it.
So what's the story like? What's the story like of moments, or I guess like the environment of what you were feeling during the pandemic? You and your partner just coming up with the idea into execution.
It really did start as just it'd be cool to blend a cigar. Right. And it branches out from there. When you start making phone calls and checking into logistics of like, okay, who are we going to work with? Who's going to make the cigar for us? We don't have a cigar factory. We don't own tobacco. So how do we get access to those resources and that production? Well, what relationships do we have that we think might want to work with us? So we called a guy named Hochi Blanco. He owns Tabacalera Palma. It's a factory in the Dominican Republic. They are most notably creating a brand called La Galera. So if you're familiar with cigars at all, you've probably heard of La Galera. If not them, then they make the Dominican aging room cigars. They make Matilde. San Parai is another brand coming out of there. So there's some good cigars coming out of that factory. But we had a good relationship with Hochi just through the retail side because we carried his product in our shop. And when he launched his brand, they've been a manufacturing factory for a long time. He's like third generation manufacturer.
Yeah.
But they never had their own in-house brand. So when they launched their brand in like 2016, my partner and I went to the trade show, and it was appealing because we're in a high tax state in Utah. 86% on cigars is the tax, right? So it's really hard for us to carry premium brands like Davidoff or Opus X. Nobody's going to pay for it with that tax. La Galera is perfect because if anything, he's underpriced. Right, you're getting a premium product that's priced a couple bucks lower than most cigars in that category.
Is that intentional?
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about money. Like, so Hochi has his hand in a lot of different plates, and he's never going to have to worry about anything financially. He's like us. He's a creative type. He likes creating things, and he's very passionate about tobacco, and he wants to make cigars for people to enjoy, not to get rich from.
Right.
He's got money. That part's not important. So yeah, his price point, if anything, is priced too low. I think he should be charging more for his cigars.
Right.
He won't, but it is what it is. So we brought in his whole line because it was very Utah friendly. We were able to sell a premium product at a price that wasn't devastating for people.
Yeah.
So you bring that product in, and we kind of shocked him when we said we wanted all of it. We want everything. He had like 20 facings, 25 facings. And we said, yes, bring it all. And he gave us a couple of bottles of Dominican rum. He gave us an ashtray to take home. He's like, I love you guys. He's like, here, take this. Yeah, he's like giving us gifts to put in the backpacks and stuff. And then he helped sponsor my trip down to a festival called Pro Cigar in the Dominican Republic the following year. My wife and I went down, and we were part of a group that toured his factory. So I got to see his factory before we were making our product there. Got to, he played host to us, and James and Coleman with Sinistro Cigars played host to us. So we were very well taken care of. We had that relationship. Yeah. So when it's time to make cigars, who do we want to call? Well, let's call the guy who's been taking care of us already. The guy that gave us rum and, gifts for carrying his product. So we called him, and Dominican travel was still a possibility during the pandemic. They had a curfew in place in the country, but they were still allowing passport holders to come in. So we made a plan to go down there. We flew down there. We had a meeting with him, told him what we wanted to do. And he was like, I like it. I want to make cigars with you guys. You're probably the last people I'm going to say yes to and make cigars with. So good timing. We feel very lucky. And we blended our first 3 cigars during that trip.
Isn't it crazy when things kind of just work out that way?
The door opened and we walked through.
That's so cool.
Yeah, man.
Did you, so you went through him to make the cigars. I'm assuming you came to that. Did you come to that conclusion after researching like all the requirements to create your own tobacco product? Like, because I know there's, you have to deal with the FDA, right, have USP codes, you have to deal with the State Board of Equalization.
So that was a big motivating factor for us in working with him.
Yeah.
Because at the time there was a lot of FDA uncertainty. They were talking about, no longer retroactively honoring individual SKUs, and you had to register everything at a price and a tax. And luckily Hochi had enough SKUs in his portfolio to accommodate the 8 cigars that we wanted to make.
Right.
So we were good.
I'm sure he has like placeholder
exactly.
Codes as well.
Exactly. He had placeholder SKUs available, and we only needed 8. So it was easy to go in and work with the guy right out of the gate.
Nice.
Logistically, we didn't have to worry about anything. So we showed up for the first trip and got sort of here's how to blend tobacco. Here's how to make a cigar blend. And he wrote down a recipe for us for our very first cigar, the Initiatory, the one with the red band on it. Mm-hmm. And the only thing we changed about that blend was we switched the binder from a Dominican binder to the Mexican San Andres binder, and that was our like, haha, we did it. You know what I mean? We're like, wow, we're blenders now.
We made an executive decision.
We made a decision.
We're very important.
But that was, like, as silly as it sounds, that was an important step for us. Because that changing of that binder kind of led us into sort of a signature move. A lot of our cigars now have that San Andres binder on purpose, but we're also much more. The blending is all us now, right? He says go for it. Just let me smoke it when you're done, so we can make sure that it's something we can be comfortable producing for you. But he gives us carte blanche to just go make whatever we want to make. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you have the factory locked down. You know the blend. You know how. I mean, you have your first product. Now, how do you come up with the brand?
So the brand we actually spent a lot of time developing before we even went down there to make cigars, because we had a plan in place for 8 blends. We came up with the design of the label, the fact that we were going to do one size per blend, and we were only going to have 8 blends in our core line. That was all arranged and thought out before we took the flight. So,
sorry, I got distracted.
It's okay.
Somehow.
Somebody handsome came in. It's not your fault.
Love you, Nathan.
Love you, Nathan.
I'm leaving this in.
The barber over there knows all about Mormon shit.
Oh, can't wait. I know more. I promise.
In terms of the distribution, are you just I'm assuming you just went through that with him as well, like the manufacturing is going through him, obviously, since he's already has all the established clean rooms, everything like that that's created. But then distribution wise, did he already have that hooked up, or are you guys doing the distribution in terms of, because you're networking with the rack, right? So I'm assuming you're also going out and finding your own places to do it.
So distribution is separate from production, and now there is an opportunity to do our distribution through his channels. But we found a channel that made more sense to us. We're based in Salt Lake City, and we were lucky enough to have a conversation with Dion, who owns Illusione Cigars, at one of the trade shows. And we were initially going to set up our own distribution in Salt Lake City. We were going to have a warehouse. We were going to import everything to us. We were going to box up every order ourselves and ship it out. We were talking to Dion at the bar after the trade show, which is rare because this guy does not go into public. So we saw him, and we were like, hey, man, we know you have distribution set up in Reno. We would love to pick your brain about how we can set something up in Salt Lake City. He's like, well, it's a lot harder than you think. I'm happy to walk you through it, but a better idea would be to let me distribute for you. And we're like, dude, yeah.
I mean, it's a win-win.
You're absolutely right. It would be easier. So, yeah, it frees us up to be creative. It frees me up to travel and try to open accounts and visit retail shops and do events. I'm not at home shipping packages, right? I'm not trying to hire somebody and pay somebody to box up packages. We've got an entire logistical factory that's already doing that, who's good at it, and now they're doing that for us as well for a fee, and it's great. So distribution, and distribution is something that, needs may change down the line, but right now we're doing what works for us. Yeah.
Well, and then something I've noticed about your brand, and we've talked about this a lot since we were visiting yesterday at a event at the Racketeer Lounge. Sponsor.
Shout out, Paul.
Shout out, Paul. The Racketeer. There's just so much intentionality behind it. Can you walk us through some of those things that you noticed that you wanted to have as part of your brand?
Intentionality behind the brand marketing and everything?
The brand, the marketing, the specific collars on the cigar, the symbols, all that. We've talked about the nerd stuff, distribution and numbers, and I'm sitting here just like, that's a pretty wrapper.
Yeah, let's talk about.
Well, the only reason is because I created a tobacco product. My first company was a tobacco product, which was an e-juice flavor for electronic cigarettes back in 2016. And that was pre FDA regulations.
Right.
So there wasn't a 40 plus sales tax on tobacco products at the time, or SKUs needed, right?
Right.
And when you don't have money, you have to go through all of the regulatory processes. You're on your own.
Yep.
And I ended up having to take out a loan to get a distribution and manufacturing, and they had minimum order quantities.
Wow. Right.
And then when they launched the sales tax, I made a net profit of $20 out of all the vape shops I sold my flavorings to, like, because I just went out and I couldn't afford a distribution center.
Yeah, you're just traveling and selling it. Yeah.
Yep. And so, at the end, I just closed the business that first year where I was like, I dodged a huge bullet. Oh, man.
I mean, that's a cautionary tale for anybody thinking that they're going to make it big in tobacco. If you're getting into tobacco manufacturing, you're not doing it as a get rich quick thing at all.
Well, that's a question in itself. Was it harder than you thought it was going to be, or did you set your expectations accordingly? I
actually think we set our expectations pretty appropriately. Yeah. We were never under the impression that this was going to be an overnight moneymaker, right? There's definitely a lot of cost up front, and there's a lot of continual cost as you go. When you're buying tobacco, you're buying futures, right? So you got to make sure that if you've come up with a blend that's really good this year, how are you going to duplicate that blend next year? You've got to lock down tobacco to be able to continue to do what you're doing on a consistent basis and keep the quality where it's supposed to be. So it's one of those things where you have to manage your expectations and know that it's going to take a couple of years and a lot of accounts continually ordering from you for you to get into the black. And that was the expectation up front. We knew that. We are a little bit ahead of our originally perceived timeline, which is great.
Yeah.
But we're making a quality product, so it's not that surprising, right? So everything we do is intentional, like you said. So
I love that.
A little bit of the background about the brand. I mean, looking at the band, you see all the symbols on there, and you notice that it's a little bit maybe culty or occult, right? Like it's a lot of weird imagery. Right. And my partner and I both grew up in Utah. We grew up Mormon, spent 25 years in the faith. We didn't know each other, but we had very parallel experiences, right? When I was 20, I went on a mission for the church, as young Mormons do, and I went to the Dominican Republic, so I got to go down there and live and learn the culture and learn the language and enjoy the way of life down there. And tobacco wasn't even on my radar. Cigars were not, like I would see old timers rolling a cigar in the plaza or whatever, right? But I had blinders on, man. I was a Mormon missionary. I wasn't there for that, right?
Yeah.
So it never...
They're rolling up sin over there.
Yeah, it didn't cross my mind as anything to be intrigued about. But I will say it did play a hand, now when we go down there, because that's where our cigars are made, it's much easier to navigate, and I'm very comfortable down there. I'm not intimidated by, being in a different country or worried about a language gap. Like it paid off, right? So grew up Mormon. We both left the church around age 25. And the hard part about leaving the Mormon church is that they literally make it a point that it permeates your entire life. Right. It's part of your daily life, no matter what. Your classmates, your employers, your coworkers, everybody in your community is also Mormon, especially in Utah. So when you leave, it's hard because you're truly on your own. And when you leave, they call you an apostate. You're an apostate. You've turned your back on the belief system. Apostasy is an act of rebellion, right?
Yeah.
So they literally
do they call you that if you just move if you move to a different, let's say a different church, like let's say you stay within the religion, but you're just going to another
that's fine.
Congregation.
People move
is
all
it the
time.
same thing?
No, not at all. Because you're still in the community, right? You've changed your address. You haven't changed anything else,
Gotcha.
right? Yeah. So you're still living your life by the same tenets.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No. When like what Kendrick and I did, when you decide that the faith is no longer for you and you want your name removed from the records of the church and you don't want to go to the meetings and you don't want them knocking on your door, it's an involved process. And they will literally call you an apostate to your face. I got several people who are like, "Oh, you're an apostate now. You just want to go live a life of sin." Like you're fully out, and they want nothing to do with you, which is crazy because people I knew my whole life were like, "Oh, well, forget that guy."
Damn shame.
Yeah.
And so even tattoos are like it wouldn't be tattoos to the Mormon church.
I mean, they're a little more relaxed about that these days. But back when I was 25 or in my early 20s. Getting a tattoo was very, very taboo. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You see a lot of members with tattoos now, though. They're not really sticklers about that.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just love the fact that the symbolism behind calling it Apostate Cigars Like that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of our way. Like I didn't find community again until I walked into a cigar lounge, right? And I saw all these people from different walks of life who had one thing in common. They're smoking a premium cigar, and they're forgetting who they are on the outside of that room, and they're having good conversation, or they're not talking at all. They're simply enjoying a cigar. Maybe you're enjoying the same thing, or you're smoking something different and you're talking about it. It bridges the gap really well.
Yeah.
To me, sitting in a cigar lounge is our modern version of like the old, campfires. We don't do that anymore. Tribal campfire where you sit at the end of the day and you talk about your day and how the hunt went and how you're taking care of your family. That happens in a cigar lounge still.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anywhere else.
There's an entire culture built into it, which is crazy because you don't understand. If you've never done it, you don't understand. But all it takes is walking into a lounge space where two or more are gathered to smoke a cigar.
And trying to explain that to somebody who's never experienced it, they look at you like you're crazy. Like, really, a cigar lounge? Really? Like,
dude, yeah.
Some
of the best conversations I've ever had have been over cigars.
Absolutely.
And there's like an unspoken agreement of being good to each other, regardless of religion, regardless of political shit. You can talk about all that, but I remember I got into one debate early on, and when I was first getting into cigars, and he's a close friend of mine now, but at the time I was in a rough spot and I heard him saying some stuff I did not agree with. So I just sat down with them and I'm like, I don't agree. So then we started like the conversation, but we were smoking cigars. So
and it was a conversation. It wasn't an argument.
I've never heard I respectfully disagree more times in my life.
Exactly.
Because we were like, if we were out on the street and we were different types of people.
Yeah, you'd have been shouting at each
else
other.
In the world, it would have been like,
it'd have been a lot of fuck you,
The respect that's required for some reason when you're holding one of these in a lounge atmosphere, there's a sacred aspect to it. Civility is instilled as part of the process, right? Civility comes with the package. You're smoking a premium cigar. Don't fuck that up by being an asshole, right? And they're out there. It happens. Some douchebag wants to walk into the lounge and be loud and annoying. They're quickly invited never to come back. Yeah. Either by the lounge ownership or by the members. Well, the social contract is kind of like, people can be loud and obnoxious, but if it's one individual that is just not trying to have a conversation, most of the lounge will turn against them, but in a way where it's like, they feel the shift in the room of, that's not what
you're fucking with the vibe, bro. Yeah, exactly.
The whole vibe is
exactly. Don't
open conversation.
Yeah, don't harsh my mellow, man. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So for me, that was profoundly eye-opening when I walked into a cigar lounge after leaving the church and feeling a little bit alone. I was able to just sit down and make new friends right there on the spot, right? So for us, when it came to starting a cigar brand, the intentionality behind it comes from why are we doing this? What are we doing it for? Yes, it scratches a creative itch. Yes, it's a cool way to get paid to be involved in the tobacco industry. But it's also, I watched that community build at Beehive Cigars in Salt Lake City. I watched that community grow. I've met friends for life in that space. And if I can accommodate that experience elsewhere by making a product that facilitates that, why would I not want to be a part of that?
Do you guys have a lounge built in, or is it
so it's a retail space?
Right.
There used to be a public lounge there. There is no longer a public lounge at Beehive Cigars. So, but there is still definitely a community there.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So
going to a good tobacconist is the same as going to a good barber.
Oh yeah,
you trust
why would you go anywhere else?
Loyalty.
Yeah, they take care of you.
Yeah,
it's a hospitality industry for sure. Yeah, so that's the intentionality behind Apostate. We're here. Yes, we want to make good quality premium cigars, and they are very good quality, and they're an excellent smoking experience. But all of that is to facilitate the perpetuation of building community.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's our number one goal.
That's so awesome.
I want you to sit down and make a friend because you decided to buy our product. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's up and coming? So
So
when did you start Apostate? And
company was formed in 2020.
Okay.
Those first 3 blends were blended in early 2021, and we hit retail shelves late 2021. So this is our 5th year actually on shelves selling cigars. Yeah.
And how much has changed since the year 1?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. Yeah, man. Year 1 was figuring out what the fuck we were doing, right? So I thought it would be cool to, sit up in our office at Beehive and make phone calls to shops all over the country and send them samples, and they'd be blown away, and they'd call begging to open accounts and carry our product. And that's not the way it works. That is 100% not the way it works. You cannot do this job from the phone. So it was quickly decided that we needed a travel budget, and that Kendrick was going to stay at home in Salt Lake City and run home base and be the brains and the business savvy behind the brand, and that I would go out and be the face and knock on doors like I did as a missionary and say, hey, I've got something to talk to you about. So that experience paid off a little bit. Yeah,
you already have that experience.
That's on the resume.
Door knocking's not easy.
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah, like this retailer can't scare me. I've had people chase me off their porch with a machete. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, we're all right.
And if
here.
you're standing there offering them a cigar to sample, that's a much easier to sell.
There's not a retailer in the country that can scare me. Yeah,
I just want you to try this.
Yeah. So, but it's easier to be on the road and travel and shake hands and smoke a cigar with a purveyor of fine tobacco, because I've already proven by being in your town, in your shop, that I'm going to take care of you. You don't know me. You don't carry my product yet. I'm in your space. I'm shaking your hand. I'm here. So you don't get that over the phone, right? And not only that, but you can ask me whatever questions you want. I can ask questions about you. Why are you a tobacconist? Tell me about your space. Tell me about your customers. Tell me about your community. I want to learn. I think it's a really conducive two-way street that you will never get by trying to sell cigars over the phone. So that's what we've been doing for 3 years now. I've just been a road warrior, getting windshield time or travel miles in the air, and wouldn't trade it. That's awesome. Yeah,
that's so cool.
When you guys started your brand, were there any? What were the main hiccups? I guess like not hiccups, but like super good learning experiences for business. Like, because I mean, Travis and I have had a tremendous amount of learning experiences over the course of 2 years now, being partners.
Of course.
Let alone you learn lessons, starting business, right? But like being partners, there's so many things that could go wrong that both of us, if one of us, loses our momentum or their motivation or, whatever, like there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Keeping both of us motivated, moving forward, learning, has been there's tons, and I'm assuming with a product, it's even more so, especially because you have to go out there and talk, and you're giving people products. Maybe there was a product you had to take back because something was going wrong, or whatever, right? What's your list of like biggest learning experiences in business for this?
I think the things we learned very quickly were adaptability and accountability. Those two things really set the stage for making any other lesson that comes along a lot easier, right? So if you learn up front that you're going to have hard conversations and hold each other accountable, that's fine. That's part of the foundation now, right? So it's easy moving forward. Adaptability is the same case, because early on, this is our redesigned main band on these cigars. This is a redesign. If you go back and you're lucky enough to find one of our original production runs, the very first symbol on that band, that A, was much different. And the problem was it was very similar to a logo on another major cigar brand, right? So we got a friendly phone call early on. Before we even hit shelves, there was a press release in Half Wheel magazine talking about the upcoming release of Apostate Cigars, and our logo was spread across the top of the page. And the purveyor who owns the brand, who had a symbol very similar to ours, gave me a call. Instead of slapping us with a cease and desist and threatening a lawsuit, he was like, hey, bro, super cool that you're making cigars. Because we sold his cigars in our shop, right? Yeah. we know who he is. He knows who we are. So he calls me, and he's like, look, dude, this is just part of the game. You're going to run into this. You got to do a little research before you release a logo or before you name a cigar. You have to make sure that there are no trademarks and that there's nothing similar that could cause market confusion, because if we can't figure this out, my lawyer really wants to send you a cease and desist, and I don't want to do that. So let's figure it out. So we had to change the first symbol, and honestly, it kind of forced us in a creative direction that actually is better. What we have on there now is better than what we had before.
Nice.
But that came through the pain of a learning experience, right? So there's a lot of things that you have to learn and be on your toes about, especially when it comes to trademarks or product licensing and stuff like that. Those were early lessons. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God we weren't.
Yeah, before you launch too.
Yeah, right.
Well, and then to that point, like, what other industry, and I'm sure there are some out there, would have a competitor call you,
just give me a friendly call
in just such a respectful manner?
That's true.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, to
not
be
a lot
fair,
of industries that do that.
I know you guys knew each other because of the past, but still.
Exactly. Well,
like,
to be fair,
it
this
speaks
dude,
to the culture.
It does speak to the culture, and this dude is a major pillar of that culture, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to drop names, but he is by far one of the most knowledgeable and kindest souls in this industry, right? So I'm super glad it was him that we were dealing with, and that it went the way it went, because it could have been so much worse. I've seen it go worse for other people. So it was best case scenario for us.
Well, in a world and country of greed at the top,
it would have been so easy for him to just be an asshole.
So easy. So easy.
Yeah.
And then
he chose not to.
And from a business perspective, that's where having compassion and morality and understanding you may have competitors, but we're all in this together.
Yeah, exactly.
Is huge, because from a business standpoint, why wouldn't he?
Right.
But
what's better for the overall success of not just our brand, but his brand and the industry as a whole?
For him to come personally call you too.
Yeah, instead of swinging his big dick around and smashing things, he says, "Hey, look, you're welcome at this table, but we got to fix something."
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
like I wish,
and also for you to receive it so well.
Yeah, of course.
Because
I mean, what are we going to do?
Like, it just speaks to the individuals, and they're not all good. No, nothing is all good, but the people who are in the brands that succeed and do business in the right way.
Right.
That's just beautiful that he can reach out to you in a really mature, like helpful way to give you a hand up. Yeah, and then for you to accept that hand. And learn a lesson, and then have it inform the way you make decisions going forward.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, that douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. There was no animosity after.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't harbor any bad feelings moving forward, because it was like he could have bankrupted us before we even got off the ground. You know what I mean? He could have shut us down. If we were having a lawsuit before, we've got a lawsuit before we've even launched, we're done. We're over. And I think he knew that. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to kill us. He wants to see tobacco do well. And he knows there's plenty of room for more seats at the table. So that was a good learning experience. I would say other adaptability issues would be like selling out of one of our cigars in the first year because we didn't realize how popular it was going to be. You know what I mean? So we had to adjust our ability to project future quantities needed. So there's little things along the way that you learn by doing, and that's really all you can do, is just do it and figure it out and do better the next time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have really figured anything out if you didn't execute it anyways.
You have to start.
Like you gotta just launch it, hope for the best, man. I mean,
you gotta walk through the door, man.
Because otherwise you won't run into any of those situations.
No, there's no problems to solve if you don't build anything in the first place. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my philosophy's always been like, people would be like, "Oh, you're so lucky." When something works out, and I'm like, God. And people who say business is a lot of luck, they're right about things working out sometimes. But if you aren't the type of person who puts yourself into positions where you can be blessed and you can seize the opportunity. Yeah. If you don't have that ability to predict potential opportunities and put yourself there and grind until you have so many opportunities that you can pick and choose what you go with, then you have a much lesser chance to succeed. Like the stars do have to align
a little bit. I mean, what they call luck, I call timing, right? Yeah. It's not luck, dude. I didn't get here because I'm lucky. I got here because I was able to work with the most savvy businessmen I've ever met in my life as a partner. Right? They say don't go into business with your friends. Well, their friend isn't Kendrick Woolston. Right. So mine is. So maybe I'm lucky there. But again, that's also just timing, right? That's just me being in a good place and being prepared at a right time and making the choice to do something with a person who luckily it paid off, right? So there's timing there. And then there's timing in the pandemic allowing us an opportunity to be creative, right? So you have a global pandemic where everything is shutting down, and you have certain people, you saw it through the pandemic, people popping up new creative ways to make money. This was our creative way to launch something that actually held a vision for us, right? So there's timing there. And then just being prepared to take advantage of that timing. I don't call that luck. That's preparation meeting opportunity. Right? That's it.
Well, and then take it a little further to the other direction. There are the gurus online that are just like, if you grind 110% every single day, then you will be making millions. Invest in this crypto because I live my life intentionally, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, yeah, but you may, like, I can hit my head against the wall every day for the next 50 days.
Right.
And it may not make a difference, but I'm not giving up, but I'm also putting myself in every possible position to seize opportunity.
Right.
And I'm doing the grind, but until those opportunities open up, I'm hitting my head against that wall.
Yeah. And that finance bro grind mentality is really weird because you're not making moves based on something that you're passionate about. You're making moves about a payoff. Right.
True. And it's all about the money.
If you're only working for the payoff, you're never going to give a shit about the process. The process is where the magic happens.
Well, the process leads to the payoff.
If you handle the process correctly, the payoff will come. Don't worry about 50 days or 180 days. Who gives a shit? Take care of right now.
This is my morning routine.
Yeah, dude. Every day we're going to wake up, we're going to chug 2 cups of coffee, 2 raw eggs, and we're on the market. And then, dude,
you forgot your morning notebook, writing down all of your things you're going to do today. Just so
30 minutes of yoga.
Chill the fuck out,
Empty my mind. Accept the grind.
Humans evolved to lay around the lake shore and eat berries all day. You know what I mean? We're not here for the fucking stock market. So, or maybe we are. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the point. But for me, if you don't pay attention to the process and you don't enjoy the steps that happen every day, the payoff isn't worth it, right? Yeah. And you probably won't get the payoff.
Exactly.
Because you're too busy sacrificing the right now for the what might come later.
But if you buy my course for $200, then I'm
exactly, dude. Seriously.
Well, I mean, business owners, the reason we get lucky is because, if you go into like a life lesson, like a life philosophical or like theoretical thing of karma. It's like we're on negative karma all the fucking time, getting shit on. Stress karma, is making it worse. And then we get like a plus 10, karma point every couple months that just like positively impacts our entire life, like astronomically.
Dude, how good do those little moments feel though? You know
they feel amazing.
That's orgasmic shit, dude. When you're constantly stressed and tired and like, man, I don't know if we're doing the right thing here. And then the thing comes along that's like, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Dude, no, exactly. You get chills, right? You get emotional. Like, yeah, you know what? Absolutely. Just keep going. Just
follow the process.
Trust the fucking process.
And every time I'm like, dude, our karma's finally going. Our karma.
You can't say that out loud.
If we were like a game, man, we'd have like a karma bar for the business, And it's like always in the red, and then like we've just decreased the negative a little bit, and then it's like all these great things. We got lucky, It's not like,
you got lucky. You got lucky. It has nothing to do with how hard you work. Yeah. I hate that.
Well, no one ever
compared to a normal person, man.
No one ever sees all of the failures that lead to the 1 or 2 successes that lead you.
Right, and would you even call them failures? Right.
Well, not if you learn from
lessons.
Exactly. You win or you learn. There's no really failure unless you quit. If you quit, you fail.
Yeah, I've always followed that philosophy that nothing is bad.
Yeah.
If you can pull something good out.
If you can grow from it, it can't be bad.
Even the worst thing. And I know, okay, internet comments, I see you. I know. But
what are they?
No. But are we simplifying it too much?
But what I'm saying though is that if you keep going and you get through it, then there's hope. And if you can actually pull, like my challenge to myself has always been, I will not let this be a wasted opportunity.
Right.
If I'm feeling like shit, if I've been kicked on the ground like 10 times over this thing, this relationship, this business situation, this terrible car breaking down, still sitting in my backyard right now.
Right.
Then if I didn't learn anything from it or gain any value or any knowledge going forward, then it is a 100% net negative. But if I can find any tiny ounce of knowledge for the next time, or positivity for the way it plays out, or even if the
reward is just learning how to be resilient.
Yeah.
And weather the storm. That's a reward too.
Mindset.
Yeah, dude.
And that's mindset. And that makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. It's like, you want to call it luck, but the people who are successful, whatever that looks like, are just the ones who didn't fucking quit.
That's really it.
When
though.
it got hard, they're just the ones who kept doing the thing. You just don't quit. You can't fail if you don't quit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest experience gained
you can't wake up
is your resilient mind. I mean, doing business in general, or going full-time business, having that be like your only source of income.
Right.
That in itself is a big leap. And then you get, there's a lot of doubts in your mind after that. And there's like whatever. But then you start gaining this experience of just how to handle stress, how to handle hard conversations.
And then you look back and you're like, oh, I can do it. Because the only reason that's hard is because you think you can't do it.
Right.
Because you've never done it before.
Exactly.
Right.
Well,
it's all unknown.
The shit that scared me and was hard 2 years ago, whatever. That's fine.
That's true. I look back and I'm like, man, why did I stress out about the two clients I had
upset?
at the
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So true. And another true thing is that it's not for everybody.
Fair.
There are people who can, like I'll bring the analogy back, hit their head against the wall over and over and over, knowing that there's light on the other side, that they're doing this intentionally. They are pushing forward.
A breakthrough is coming.
And that also, for success, you have to be able to adapt and be able to recognize the failures and adapt to them and turn them into positives. But some people don't have that kind of strength. Some people are meant to
that's fine.
Trade their time for money.
Yeah, great.
And, there's plenty of ways to be successful in that field. That's what college is
we
for.
Still need accountants. We need
people to work the system.
Yeah, dude. And there are people who are gratified by that. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's fantastic because it's not
needed.
me.
They're needed.
It's essential.
That's why the grind bros can fuck off, because not everybody is going to pay you money and suddenly become some amazing entrepreneur.
Right.
This channel is for entrepreneurs, but if you're a person who enjoys this, who's able to keep working and live a successful life, then good on you.
Dude, I mean, my wife is a prime example of that. She's a fucking gifted administrator. Yeah. And she's turned on by being able to organize things well, right? So that's her calling. She loves it. She would never go into like trying to be an entrepreneur like this, because that is too much unknown. Right. It's too much pressure, too many things you can't be in control of. And that's great, because what she is doing, she absolutely loves. It's absolutely necessary. And she makes great money. We've got good insurance. Like it's win-win. She would never go try to start a business. Right. Because it wouldn't be exciting for her. Like it doesn't do what it does for me. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and that's fine.
Well, and some people love that struggle too.
Yeah.
That just knock down, drag out struggle.
You're not going to get me today.
Push. And then it turns into something because you worked for it. That is so satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody's success is different, right? Like, I love how people are like, oh, you're successful. You're super lucky, or like looking at Instagram and be like, oh, those guys are successful. It's like, dude, my success is having a business that consistently gets me enough money so I can enjoy my freaking life, go out to the cigar lounges, go out and have whiskey like with my friends, not have a clock in, clock out time. Like that's my success. It doesn't matter what money I make.
Yeah, success is an individual benchmark. Nobody can tell you if what you're doing makes you feel successful. That's for you, and that's it.
Right. Exactly.
You noticed?
I did. I just want freedom. Freedom to start new companies. Freedom to in the end, like my benchmark for success, and I will enjoy the little successes on the way to it, is the freedom to do whatever I want.
Exactly.
Whether it's, if I want to buy something, like say there's something I really want, it'd be great just to be able to go out and get it.
Just go get it.
Right.
But you know, I'm not expecting to live in a mansion and do all that, because like the real satisfaction for me is when a job's well done and when opportunities are there. And I want to open up as many opportunities for like Josh and I as possible,
Right.
by playing the game right and then making it so on a whim, start a new company.
Yeah, and
that meets this need.
I mean, what does successful look like for a cigar brand, for instance, right? For me, I'm kind of in the same vein. My mortgage is paid. My bills are paid. My kids are clothed and fed. And I can take my wife on dates, and we can maybe go on a trip every now and then. And in the vein of, you know, trying to put our product out there, I get paid to travel, dude. I get paid to be in other places. I've seen the entire country in the last 3 years, and that's my job.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. I meet people in new cities. I see lounges in new cities. I see, you know, sites that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. I eat meals I wouldn't have eaten otherwise. And so to me, that alone is a measure of success, right? That I get to be paid to do something that's super fucking cool.
That's so cool.
So is success being a millionaire? I don't think so. Like, that's not my goal. Right. It takes a lot to become a millionaire in the cigar industry. It takes a lot. So I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing that we achieve. And I don't really care. As long as needs are met and I can live my life. Like you said, if I can do the things that I enjoy without stress, right, without worrying where the next paycheck's coming from or if the lights are going to stay on, then I would consider that a success. And if that's the case, then we're already there, and everything else is just gravy.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And it takes so much mental resilience to get to that point.
Bro.
Cause that's the difference, right? Yeah. Like when we scoff at people that are like, damn, dude, you're lucky. I wish I can do what you do. It's like, we scoff, but then like their perspective, right, is like they get a paycheck. They know what they're making consistently. They're in the workforce,
There's
whatever.
Security there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they don't have to worry about paying the bills, keeping a roof over your head. Like, as an entrepreneur, that is our number one thing we're looking at every fucking month.
You're living your life in debt. Absolutely. Right. Like, everything is in the red all the time for a while.
Right. So and then one life event happens. Boom, dude. Uber stress, like, it's just crazy, dude.
Every little inconvenience feels a lot bigger.
Time and time again, I've had my mom like just shake her head at me like, how?
My mom's kind of the same way, but she's much more optimistic about it. She's constantly texting my wife like, are you really okay with Brandon being gone all the time? Like, is he okay? Like, is this okay? I'm like, Mom, everybody's happy. If we weren't, you would know. Like,
right. Yeah.
We're good. Settle down.
Yeah. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, as things have kind of popped off in the direction that we've been pushing for a long time, like I sell a big video.
Goals being achieved.
Yeah. I call my mom like, hey, Mom, this happened.
Yeah.
She's like,
guess what?
Thank you for telling me. I don't know how you did it. Oh my God. I would have.
Oh, dude, it was a complete year of bullshit just thrown in our faces of just learnings and trying not to get into like depressive non-motivation states and God, dude, it was.
Who's the Greek tragic figure constantly pushing the stone up the hill?
Oh, I don't remember.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's it, dude. That's being an entrepreneur. You every day you're pushing that goddamn boulder up that goddamn hill, and that hill doesn't get any shorter.
Well, and the hardest part too is you have to be able to be so resilient that, like, and because you're in sales, like you're going around showing
and I've
stuff.
never been in sales, so it's a whole other.
And us in marketing, like the confidence to do our jobs, is so important, especially if you're doing the creative side. With my creative side, I have to think I'm the shit if the video is going to turn out good, and like go in super confidently and just make the best thing ever and be like, oh yeah, that's really good. Right.
Well, yeah, quality is pride of craftsmanship.
And if getting kicked to the curb for a year, if I wasn't resilient and I just was like, maybe I'm not good at this, then I'd have so much hesitation every time.
It's funny because there's two sides to that coin, right? It requires a certain amount of self-delusion, but is that self-delusion too much, right? Where you're like, oh shit, maybe I'm not great at this, right? But you got to live somewhere in the middle.
You got to find the balance.
You got to live in the balance, man. So
it keeps you interested to learn more. You know, if you get complacent, you're like, I'm the fucking shit.
Well, that's when I'm doing the worst. That's when I'm doing the worst. When I get comfortable, when I'm like, okay, we've reached a benchmark. We're doing pretty fucking good. Then some shit hits the fan or things backslide, and I'm like, oh fuck. And then you got to start over, right? So you can't really, the moral of the story is don't get comfortable. Like get comfortable if you can, but like, don't get comfortable.
I mean, the comfortable for us would be like, hey, dude, let's go and have some drinks and cheers to this.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like, let's go get the expensive shit and just enjoy our time.
You're not, but that's to me, that's just acknowledging progress, right? That's acknowledging growth.
Well, let's fix my car.
Yeah, dude. My wife has been badgering me to upgrade our backyard since we moved into this place, right? And we just finally had the conversation this morning, that like, hey, when I get home, we're going to go map out where the flagstones are going to go, and we're going to mark on the deck where the staircase is going to be, and we're going to get started.
It feels good.
It took 5 years to be able to tell my wife, hey, let's put some flagstone down. You know, like that's not getting comfortable. That's not saying we've made it. That's just celebrating growth. Really. Yeah.
You know what? Let me go into a topic that's actually pretty interesting, actually, because this will be something that a lot of entrepreneurs go through. So married, you know, you say you're married to a woman that isn't an entrepreneur, you know, doesn't have the background, just likes, you know, just has a job. Awesome. Now there's two sides of the coin, right? Like there's a woman that's going to be there to support you entirely, or there's going to be a woman that just really is super negative Nelly, and you have to like literally drown that out now on a daily. Because I come from an experience where, like, when I first started business, my ex-wife constantly just did the wrong. Why do you do this? Why don't you go work? And then when I'd get like a huge invoice in, we had a shared account, so that money would just disappear, and I had to pay for like certain services to, you know, fulfill my work. And so then it was just like I had all this stress of like, you are not helping me build this business, and then you're constantly shitting on me for doing it, because I don't have a steady income, and you know, I get big influxes of cash here, and then I have to wait, and then all of our income's gone because, you know, then it's like, you know, she shopped it around, and then now I have nothing to spend for the client. I have to improvise and learn something that I shouldn't have myself.
Well, a spouse can be the biggest cheerleader or the absolute worst critic, and that can make or break business as well. Like a spouse or a partner that either doesn't get it or is so afraid that they are so fearful that it's going to fail and that you're not going to be able to provide, that they end up causing so much doubt in your mind that you fail because of that.
Which is a good point, because very clearly I've already demonstrated that my wife is not an entrepreneur, but neither would I be if she hadn't bought in.
Yeah.
Right. So if she doesn't buy into like, I'm going to do this thing, it's going to be really hard for a while, like for a long time. It's going to be really hard. We're going to figure it out. If you have faith in me and I have faith in you, and we can do this together, it will work. And she bought in from day one. I mean, there was no hesitation. We took out a second mortgage on my house to launch this company. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary. As a spouse to be like, oh, we're doing what with the mortgage? You know, like,
we're going to make cigars, babe.
We're putting cash on the table to make cigars, and here's the plan. Here's why I'm comfortable with it. Here's where I need your support. And she said yes to the whole process. If that had not happened, I would not be here.
You don't think you would have launched the company at all without the support?
Not. Nope. Never would have happened. No way. Because I'm not going to do that to her. Right. But not only that, how am I going to be empowered to do everything I need to do without her saying yes to the support part? Right.
True.
Because then I'm just on the road like, fuck, she's at home. She's fucking hating this. Like then you're dealing with not only the stress of everything you're doing, but worrying about your relationship and worrying about your family and worrying about resentment, right? If resentment comes up, then why are you here?
And now you'll fail because you're so concerned about the failing relationship back at home too.
Exactly.
I get it. And I've heard a couple of like actually positive relationships. Josh and I have been put through the ringer in the past. Things are great now.
Yeah. Our new women get it. And, you know,
but you were mindful about choosing a relationship that was conducive to what you're doing.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. So
that was a part of the screening process, starting dating, of letting them know what I do. And, you know,
my wife and I have been together for 14 years, and that's been the first 7 years of that relationship were so growth oriented that now, like, honestly, I'm very confident saying we're untouchable. There is no obstacle that can pop up in my relationship that would break it. Not one.
That's
nothing,
so awesome,
unless I flew off the handle and like killed somebody. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's a deal breaker, but she'd probably come see me in jail. You know what I mean?
They have those conjugal trailers.
So it's like at this point, doing what I'm doing and having to focus so much on what it's going to take from me, I'm not worried about what kind of toll it's taking on her because I know she can handle it. She agreed to handle it and she's handling it. Yeah. And so it's a non-issue. We're bulletproof. Yeah.
It's kind of tough too, because like if you think about it, right? There's probably a lot of, you know, entrepreneurs that are hesitant to jump into a business because of their significant other, and there's two sides of it. Right? You know, you got to put your relationship first. Like if they're not comfortable with it, awesome. You got to do it. But then what if you're just not happy with life and you can't give it your all because you can't do what you really want to do?
Well, that's the thing. Can you imagine sitting there staring down the barrel of the thing that sets you on fire, knowing that if you take that first step, it's going to lead you to feel fulfilled in ways that you've never been fulfilled, whether it's financially or otherwise, and not being able to take that first step because you're like, well, fuck, my wife's going to hate this.
Right. Well, and that's the tough part, man. Like, that's super tough.
Terrible.
Because I don't even regret what I did. Like I did it, but you know what? It was sure. You know, like I told her what I was going to do, and she's okay. Yeah, you know,
acceptance.
But then realized how hard
support.
It was.
Yeah,
right.
Just accepting something is not the same as supporting it, right?
Correct.
I don't feel like my wife accepts what I'm doing. She fully supports what I'm doing. She is a cheerleader. She has co-opted the passion, you know what I mean? She doesn't give a fuck about cigars, but she knows I do, and she loves that for me, and that's awesome. Like,
my company started as kind of a coping mechanism. Like when I first started, because I was really good at making videos, and she was supportive at the beginning until our relationship wasn't in a good spot, and then it was kind of more bitching and complaining about.
It became a reason to what I was doing. Come down on
and
you.
It was an easy one because I'm putting so much time into it.
Right, it's low hanging fruit. Yeah,
you know, she was supportive of it, but at the same time, our relationship had gotten to the point where I wasn't feeling validation in the relationship. Like I could do anything right, because that was our dynamic.
Right.
But I'd make a video, even though they were, I mean, I don't like to show them anymore because they were pretty shitty like 10 years ago.
Got to start somewhere.
they were pretty rough.
Well, they were good at the time.
They were good at the time, somewhere, 10 years ago. But people praised them so much. And I had gone so long without validation or any kind of just praise, in my mind at least.
Right.
You know,
that becomes addictive.
The one person you want to come and tell your success story of the day turns into, wow, well, you know, what about all these things that you didn't do? Why are you putting
so much time into that?
you know, and you're like, dude, I don't even want to come home and tell you.
And that did cause an even bigger rift too, because it was like, listen, you don't understand. If I build this, I don't know what it might become. I had no idea that Josh and I would partner up.
This is all an unknown.
Yeah. But I recognized the fact that no matter where I worked, I pushed as hard as I could to be managing or training somebody at some level of authority in every job I'd ever done my entire life.
Same.
And then I reached that point and I realized there's always going to be a cap unless I go to business or I go to college for like 10 years to become some kind of doctor.
Right.
Even then, I will be told by what degree I chose who I can see and what I can do.
Right.
You're
always furthering someone else's cause.
Yeah, I'm always under control of somebody else, and there's always a cap of some sort. And then I realized, well, what do I really want with this whole doctor thing? Because I was in the medical industry at that point. I wanted to do some therapy. I wanted to be able to like engage with people and do like own my own practice. Right. But I was like, there's still all of the structure where I feel controlled. And then I started getting asked to make videos. I started getting all this validation. I'm like, okay, well, if I really, really press hard into this, there's no max on how many projects I can do a month. There's no max on what I can charge once I can charge the maximum amount. No one will ever tell me. It's only what you decide
to say yes to.
Yes. Yeah. No one will ever tell me what my maximum is.
Right.
And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. Yeah. And that's, I absolutely.
Yeah, there's no ceiling you'll hit in career, in entrepreneurship.
My daughter was born and we're sitting there looking at the budget, looking at what we have. And I'm like, well, I'm only ever going to make this much at the hospital. Every year might get a $1 raise. But what happens if something happens and I need to make money now?
There's fucked. Nothing you can do.
We're fucked.
You're either a sailor on somebody else's ship or you're the captain of your own ship. Either way, if you're going to be on a ship, you might as well be the guy calling the shots. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the appeal for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's like
if you're stuck at sea, it better be your own goddamn boat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dude. But dude, that takes a huge strain on a relationship, and I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Definitely, it's not to say that my marriage is without stress, right? We are stressed, but we are stressed together.
Right.
It's not me versus her. It's us versus the stress.
Well, it sounds like she's taken the time to understand why everything's happening.
Well, that's where the intentionality we were talking about earlier comes from, right? Because people will be like, "Oh man, you're so lucky. You met such a good partner." No, it's not luck, bro. Everything is intentional. If you are authentic and you are intentional and you choose to do things to better yourself and better your relationship, it will inevitably get to the place where everyone says, "Oh, you're so lucky."
Yeah.
Not lucky, bro. Effort. Just like everything else we've talked about. Yeah.
I've seen me and both of us have saw both sides of the coin. And I can tell you, I don't know if I would actually still be able to do business without a partner now that supports me entirely. Like the things we've gone through in the last couple of years were such big testing moments that if I did not have somebody to rely on to catch me, I would have inevitably gotten to a point where I physically can't continue because of finances and support. And I have kids to look after. And, I was going through a 3.5 year long divorce that ended in 2024. Right. It was just such a huge trial that if I did not have that support system, I don't even know. I mean, maybe I could have persevered, but it would have, I don't know where I'd be mentally. I don't know where I'd be in business.
Yeah. Well, and our partnership also was a saving grace for that.
Yeah,
can
big
you imagine
time.
If we hadn't have merged our companies and started taking on everything together?
We'd be solo on our own lanes.
If either of us were trying to do the shit we do ourselves,
it
would be impossible.
With no Kendrick, there is no Apostate. With no Brandon, there is no Apostate. It takes both of us to do what we're both good at. Recently, we made a decision that was like, well, we need to stop trying to overcome our weaknesses necessarily and maybe just outsource them. We outsource our weaknesses to people who are good at it, and we focus on our strengths. And that's it.
Well, you have the two personalities, and that's how our partnership works. We fill in most of the gaps. But there are certain things.
There's a Venn diagram.
Neither of us are good at.
Exactly.
Oh, that light's not turned on, plugged in.
Oh,
just got dark in here.
Did you unplug my lamp?
I'm scared.
Turned on. That is scary.
So dark.
Yeah, whatever.
I think the light's fine. I think we're okay. Yeah, I look better in shadows anyway. But no, that's...
this is the dramatic part of the podcast.
Now we're going to get real into it. No, there really is. It's the same for us. Where my gaps lie, Kendrick thrives, and vice versa, except for a few things. Like, neither of us are really very good at being organized at all. So instead of us fucking beating our heads against the wall and trying to become good at a thing we're just never going to be good at, outsource it to somebody who is, right? Remove that weakness, let them handle it, focus on what you're good at and thrive there, and stop stressing and worrying about the shit you're not good at. You know? So,
outsourcing. So in the concept of that, it would be let's say somebody has to bootstrap their business. That's it's going to be almost impossible. So you got to kind of like navigate that, for business in general. There's a lot of things I would love to outsource. Unfortunately, they're not. They're either something that I completely can't trust a normal marketing person to do for me, like paid advertising, for example. It is very different. Like I need to hire somebody that needs like $150,000 a year salary, like some very, very experienced person to trust and be like, oh, you get it, right? Otherwise, my deliverables would just flop and then my business would go under. Right. So there's like things where I'm like, shit, I have to just keep going and going and going.
Right. Well, some of the services are so niche. It's like it's like if someone goes to hire a painter and then the understudy does the painting.
Right.
That doesn't work.
Right. Well,
there's a reason why the person's being hired, and it's like shit. Now
the luxury for me is I've never been a sales guy. Right. Mm-hmm. Now I'm the director of sales for a company because that's the role that fits my personality and my skills the best. Right. So I am the face of Apostate Cigars. I'm the director of sales. I'm managing any Salesforce members who come along. Right. So right now we have 2 reps, one in California, one on the East Coast. And that's me outsourcing not only some skills that I don't have well refined, but also time management. Right. I can't be on both coasts at the same time.
You
right.
Can't?
So
wait, what?
That'd be great.
Bro.
Wouldn't that be cool? So I outsource it to people who have way more sales experience than I have, who already have relationships in those areas and who can be in those places when I can't. So to me, when I say outsourcing, I'm not necessarily talking about an entire skill set.
Yeah.
Just some more people, you know what I mean?
I mean, we technically outsource too. To software,
of course.
Yeah,
that's outsourcing.
I use a ton of software that assists me in doing mundane work.
The current technology is great as far as efficiency's sake.
So I guess for our business is a little bit different, but essentially it's the same thing as
it's the same thing.
It takes a certain understanding to know, can I keep up this quality, and also can I become more efficient by allowing myself to let go of this little thing. And it's all part of the strategic plan.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I mean, partnerships in general though are just there's so many things that can go awry, but like it sounds like your partnership is pretty similar to Travis. And people, which is really funny because people are like, "Oh, don't get into business with friends." And I love your response. Well, you obviously don't have, Travis as your friend.
Your friend isn't my friend.
You just don't understand.
Because me and Travis can have the hardest conversations. Travis can call me and say, "Hey, Josh, like you need to fix your shit, dude." Right. Or, hey, Travis, we need to get going on this, man. And kids, our stress, can go and we can say things to each other to get it, say hey man, this is what you did wrong. Or hey man, this is what you did wrong. Hey, this is what you need to work on. And neither of us have been well,
you're not reactive.
How can you say that? And I'm like, oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Feedback is a gift, right? I mean, honestly, feedback is a gift because otherwise you're just navigating under the assumption that everything's fine. So when it comes to Kendrick and I giving each other feedback, it's usually just the form of a friendly fucking check-in. You know what I mean? Hey, bro, how you doing? Right. Hey, I'm good. I'm feeling a little stressed about this and this. And he's like, well, let's talk about that. Why are you stressed? What do you think is leading to that? And it usually comes back to not feeling fulfilled because there's something I'm not doing or something he's not doing or something that he hasn't thought about. We are very good at recognizing how the other person is feeling and getting to the root of why that feeling is there. It's very therapeutic. We call each other our therapists. we're not having a business meeting and like, oh, we got to hit these numbers and this is the quota and blah, blah, blah. It's true. Not, none of that would work for us because it's not how we operate. It's, hey man, how are you feeling? Are you feeling content? Are you feeling fulfilled? Do you feel like you're being effective? Because for me, feeling fulfilled is being effective. If I feel effective, I'm on cloud nine. I'm in a great mood.
Yeah.
If I'm in a bad mood or I'm feeling stressed or depressed, it's usually because I'm not feeling effective. Okay, what's not being fulfilled in that effective vein? And how do we help you feel effective? What can you do better? What are you missing? What are you not doing that you were before? And it's the same with him. It's like he's very fulfilled when he's feeling allowed to be creative. And he's allowed to explore ideas, and he's allowed to tell you his ideas. And maybe we put some of those ideas in practice. So it's a very conducive environment to just being who we are and being vulnerable and not placing blame on each other. I can't think of a single conversation where either one of us has blamed the other one for something going poorly.
Right.
It has literally never happened. And I don't think that it will. So like Kendrick is literally my best friend. And the people who say don't go into business with your friends don't know how to navigate a friendship.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree.
Right. Or a business, maybe both. I don't know. But
and you have some shitty friends if you don't.
Yeah, you got shitty friends if you can't be real with each other.
To screw you over.
Yeah, if you're taking advantage of each other, you can't be honest with each other. Or you're manipulating each other or trying to gain advantage over. Like that's not a friendship, dude.
If you have a true friendship and you're both good entrepreneurs, then you'd understand overcoming the greed for the bottom line.
Exactly,
Actually, it's building a foundation for the future.
You mean trust the process?
Yeah, trust the process. Hashtag trust the process.
That's a good way to put it too. Like as therapists, I think countless times, because I have a different, like my mentality is a lot. Travis and I are totally different people in terms of like how we act.
Sure. Yeah, you have very different personalities. I've been here with an hour, and I can tell. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they mesh. So, like they're actually not like they seem like they're not supposed to mesh. But like there's so many people that are like, I don't even like you and Josh are so different. Like what the hell?
See, that's what's funny is Kendrick and I are so similar. But there are a few key things that are very, very different. He perceives the world from kind of an inside, self-informed perspective, and I see the world through the vein of like external sources and an externally informed perspective, right? And so that's really good for both of us because we can bridge the gap for each other there. But everything else we're very in line with. So we can, when he walks in the room, I know what mood he's in. He doesn't have to say a word. I can see his face, right? I'm like, dude, are you okay? Before his coat's off, right? And he'll take his coat off and be like, I'm okay. I'm like, okay, are you okay? And he'll sit down and he'll be like, are you ready to play therapist? And I'm like, absolutely.
That's
Let's
so
fucking
funny.
go. Dude.
The amount of times Travis will call me like, hey man, how's things going? Yeah. I'm like, you know what, man? Like,
yeah, dude.
And he'll just listen to me, dude.
No, you have to be able to do that though. Whether it's a friendship or a business partnership. Luckily, it sounds like we're all in a situation where it's both.
Yeah.
You have to be able to,
and we're lucky for that.
We're so lucky.
Yeah.
So lucky. We're so lucky. Or did we all do the work? You know what I mean? Did we all welcome feedback and we all maybe go to a little therapy?
We've grinded our way into good friendships.
Yeah. You got to get up and you got to be a friend.
Be a real friend. Friendships are like flowers. If you don't water them, they'll shrivel up and die.
Yeah, man. Like at that point, you don't have a friend. You have an accessory. You know what I mean? You have somebody who serves a need, and until that need is no longer served, they're not your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, honestly, maybe we can call it luck at that point. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm becoming less and less of a fan of the word luck. The more you recognize what contributes to it, it's not luck.
It's because it's easier to say luck than to be like, well, no, because when I was, 5 years old, this happened and it led me to this place, and then that led me to this place, and then it led me to like go and hit him up, and
it's
then
the butterfly effect, bro.
The problem is
it was the choices I made. It wasn't luck.
The problem is there's so many factors that go into creating that one opportunity that can change everything.
Right.
That it seems almost,
from the outside, it looks like a snap of magic, right?
Well, from the outside, like there's either luck or there's destiny. Right?
That's the other word I hate. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying though. It's like, and based off that, it's like, following like the plan or what was already predestined or whatever.
Right.
Because
exactly.
It's really easy to be like, to take credit for doing all of the things that we've done our entire life.
Right.
But at the same time, I am still just shocked and amazed and appreciative that things worked out the way they did.
Dude, gratitude is a huge part of it.
So much has worked out not working out. Right.
And that's where much went right because a thing went wrong. Right? Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Hey, do you know that's so true though, dude?
Absolutely.
That's so true, brother. Like even 2 months ago, we're like, fuck. And then like this month, we're like, holy shit, dude.
So so many things end up happening because you had to stop and pause and assess and think about where you're at and adapt to move in a different direction. If that thing that fucked you up for a second didn't happen, would you have adjusted and gotten to where you're at, right? So I'm calling it right now. Luck and destiny can fuck off. I am not tethered to some distant point in the future by destiny, and I'm not a happy victim of circumstance that luck said, oh, you're the guy who gets to do this thing right now. No. Every moment, every hard thing, you either learn or you give up. And so far, it hasn't come to a point where I've given up. So, yeah.
So lucky that you can think that way.
Fucking come across this table. I'm going to jump across this table.
All right, boys.
Yeah.
Let's review this.
Yeah, so review it.
Cheers it quick, and then let's review it. Josh, what is this again?
Old Forester 1910. This is the Whiskey Row series. It's one of their double-barreled options. They have two of them, I believe. This is just one of the 1910 and the 1920. This one is absolutely phenomenal. It is a good. Now, a note. So this is the dissertation of it. It's supposed to be a banana chocolate heavy in the front notes. Your nose is supposed to smell.
Did you look those up?
Yeah, this is like the card per se. Like if they had a card, a lot of people also get different things.
You're cheating, is what you're saying.
You always got to look. I'm
gonna pretend I heard nothing from the card, and I'm gonna tell you. Let's get a little more in my glass so I can.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
it's important. Let's just
because I taste things for a living. This is actually my job. My tongue makes me money.
I 100% taste the banana chocolate.
I was focused on the pour.
All right, guys.
But I was focused on my palate.
I just fucking lobbed it up, and you both struck out.
God dang it! I'm sure the comments won't.
All right, time to trust his tongue.
So I'm ignoring the card, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what I taste because that's the thing. Even in the cigar world, especially in the cigar world, people walk up to me when they taste my cigar or they're trying to buy something. They're like, tell me about the flavor profile in this cigar. Okay. Sure. I'm going to tell you what I taste in this cigar. That is not necessarily going to inform you what experience you're about to have. We don't have the same tongue. We don't have the same amount of taste buds. We haven't eaten the same amount of food or drank the same amount of water or got the same amount of sleep today. So what I taste is what I taste, and maybe that'll inform your decision. So that being the case.
It's such a good one, man. Old Forester General nails it, brother.
So banana is there, right up front.
What do you think on the nose? What about the nose? I get that banana and nut flavor.
It's not clean banana though. It's like bananas peel. Foster, right? It's like if you had like a 2-day-old banana peel sitting on the counter, and you sprinkled a little cinnamon and vanilla on it.
Oh yeah, I get
and warmed it up.
Vanilla, yeah.
It's a good nose. It's not like a junk heap, like a Caribbean Jamaican rum. When you smell banana on those, it smells like a compost heap.
It's like a ripe banana. It's
clean.
So sweet.
Yeah,
in
that way.
So Eagle Rare actually wins on the palate, but loses on the nose. So the nose complexity of the Old Forester 1910 wins.
Dude, I don't know. I'd put this side by side with the Eagle Rare. I mean, it's not as. The Eagle Rare is a little more like dark and refined, right?
What I like about this is like as it finishes and sits on the very back of the tongue. Yeah, it's like cinnamon butter, just kind of dancing around there.
Yeah, it's like the hint of like a Werther's original, just like butter.
There's a stinging sweet with the butter just sitting there on the very back for me.
The banana thing that they want to put on the card is a cool note to put on the card, but it's not a prominent note through the whole sip. Like it's barely there for a second, and then it finishes with like vanilla, maybe a little molasses, and like butterscotch.
Molasses is a good one.
Yeah.
That's kind of close to the, because it's like a combination of some kind of syrupy molasses with cinnamon that I have on the back of my tongue.
And I don't know where they're getting chocolate because I don't taste that at all.
Dude, I got the chocolate heavy on the aftertaste. Yeah.
On the finish?
On the finish.
I'm so distracted by the butter note on the finish though, because it's so long. It's like a 30-second finish.
It's so long, but it's so spicy sweet to me.
Cinnamon
on that very end.
Yeah. It is very sweet. This is good, dude. I would drink
it
this
is
all day.
amazing.
This
So
is
there's
fantastic.
2 coins of it, right? Like, so this is more of a a rich bourbon.
Josh, did you want to read the card though?
No.
Okay, you want to go freestyle?
Yeah. Well, like,
Okay.
But no, I mean, I would say this is more of like a rich tasting bourbon. But then there's more spice heavy bourbons, right? They're both, even on the coin side. I mean, a 93 proof is, this is pretty mellow.
Yeah, it's not drinking hot at all.
Yeah.
Right. It's just smooth, man. I mean, this is a good sipper for $60.
Oh, it's fantastic.
This is $60.
Yeah.
I'd pay $80 for this, no problem.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Okay. Now,
shall we talk about tobacco?
What would you pair with this?
What would you pair with this?
Specifically from the Apostate lineup.
Is there one here on the table? That
So you know what's really cool?
Or,
what's fortuitous and lucky about smoking Apostate?
So lucky.
So lucky is that
it was destiny.
it was destiny.
It was destiny. You were here to say this to the the audience.
It was destiny that you picked this bottle. No, so specifically with what we're drinking, the one tobacco that we carry through all of our blends is San Andres from Mexico, and that leaf by itself has a very cocoa-y, kind of earthy, semi-sweet chocolate kind of profile to it.
Chocolate.
Right? Now people will not necessarily anymore. People are becoming more creative. But when San Andres first hit the market, it was considered a garbage leaf because it was cheap and it was ugly and nobody wanted to use it. And then Tatuaje comes along and companies like that who start using San Andres in unique ways as a wrapper. But they're coming out of Nicaragua, so they're blending very bold, earthy, spicy tobacco with the San Andres. So suddenly San Andres has a reputation for being a really strong, potent, bold leaf. It is not. By itself, San Andres is a great. I told people, I think I said this last night. If you've watched The Big Lebowski, the rug that ties the room together, is San Andres in any blend. Not any blend, but in our blends, San Andres is the rug that ties the room together. It is in every cigar, whether it's wrapper, binder, or filler, and it either mellows out the blend or becomes the backbone of a blend. And so when we're drinking this, honestly, I will tell you as a flat out just consolation answer that you could pair any one of our cigars with this. But the best pairing is the one I'm holding, Moroni's Trumpet. It has some broadleaf in here to give you some earthiness to counteract the sweetness that's happening with that. What you don't want to do is have a cigar that overpowers your bourbon, and you don't want to have a bourbon that overpowers your cigar. You want to find balance, right? It's just like mixing wine with food, and when you're doing pairings that way,
right.
Similar qualities in the wine and the food will cancel each other out, and you're left with the leftovers between the both. It's that Venn diagram, right? Same with cigars and spirits. If you have a super sweet cigar and a super sweet bourbon, you just lost the point of both.
Really? So like in layman's terms, right? Like, so me, I'm not a big cigar person, or tobacco person. I'm there. I have pipes that I buy, and pipe tobacco, like the super, or aromatics and, yada, yada. But like, I haven't delved into like
tobacco,
where
cigars.
whiskey. I'm huge into just the history and whiskey stuff. In the last 4.5 years now, I've just been so diving into it.
You start the podcast with me,
big fucking nerd.
Yeah, but like tobacco, he'll see notes, and I'm like, dude, I don't.
See, that's where the problem. That's where the danger comes in with talking to your buddies about what you're tasting in a cigar, right? So, I taste pomegranate and orange peel and wallet leather. Like, dude, calm down. What does it remind you of? What is the closest thing that you can think of that this is? It sweet or is it savory? Start there.
Summer of 02.
Yes. I've never actually heard that. What does that remind? What is like if you smoke
the taste? Dude, there's no chocolate or pomegranate or leather in that cigar. So why are you telling me that that's your tasting note? I don't want to hear you say that. What it reminds you of is what you should be thinking about. So is it sweet? Is it a cup of coffee with cream and sugar? Or is it a piece of dark chocolate? Is that what it reminds you of?
Right.
Do you get some savory notes like white pepper and maybe a little meatiness, or like something like a truffle, maybe earthy like a mushroom? Compare it to things it reminds you of. Stop trying to pick out, oh, I had dried blueberry on that puff. Calm down. Just simplify it. Your tongue has a couple of sections.
Blueberry, dude.
It's like an aged Phoenician food.
Have you heard sommeliers try to describe wine notes? Read the label on the bottle.
The last episode was
The last episode was with our friend Trevor.
Fuck out of here, dude. Like, calm down.
And you're like, holy, I don't understand.
Okay, Trevor, when he's back in town, you guys have to have a taste off.
Look, dude, I know that they love to fucking describe a flavor and as colorfully as possible, and that's great. That's cool. It helps you sell the bottle. I'm not trying to sell you the cigar based on the tasting notes. Here's the overall experience you're going to get, right? So are we talking about
they're all descriptors?
Yeah,
at least they're supposed.
Like, how would
they're
like as a newbie, what would you do? Like, if I'm because I'm still a complete fucking noob, but like in your lineup, right? If I'm wanting to get something that I can have an aha moment and eat like something that's easy to identify.
Yeah.
Out of your line.
Here's your aha moment. When you smoke Apostate, you are going. So, are you familiar with the term retrohale? Do you know what that means?
No.
So when you're smoking a cigar, most people start out just pulling the smoke in the mouth, puffing it out. That's the mechanics, right? It's like you're moving liquid from one cup to another with a straw. That's it, right? That motion, you're getting it on the palate, you're puffing it out. Retrohaling is keeping some of that smoke in your mouth. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, close your lips, blow out your nose. You get the smoke coming out your nose. You're now running through all the taste receptors in your olfactory.
I believe you told me that a couple times.
Yeah, so
and I made fun of you.
Last night I made the example that if you're smoking a cigar just on the palate, that's great. You're still going to enjoy it, but you're watching TV in black and white. You're not getting the full scope of everything you could possibly be tasting. And when we blend a cigar, the retrohale is very important to us. It's part of the blending process. We want that retrohale to be an expression of the flavors in the cigar, right? So puffing out the nose is 100% intentional for us. So when you smoke our cigars, you're going to taste those sweeter notes on the retrohale. Maybe it's a little savory on the palate itself, but when you retrohale, you're like, oh, that's actually sweeter than what I tasted on my tongue. Yeah. So that, for me, creates an aha moment because you're now engaging more of your senses to taste something. So when you're pairing a cigar with wine or spirits or beer, the only thing you have to keep in mind is one overpowering the other. That's it.
And when it doesn't, you're very lucky.
So what's the reasoning behind the one you suggested? Because you said the sweet versus sweet will cancel each other out.
Yeah, so the Moroni's Trumpet has two broadleaf tobaccos in it. You've got Pennsylvania broadleaf and Connecticut broadleaf, a little more on the earthy and a little bit spicy side. You've also got San Andres on the wrapper, so there's your cocoa notes that are a little sweeter. And then you've got a Dominican binder. Dominican tobacco as a binder is traditionally a little more almost floral. It reminds me of like smelling potpourri. Right, it's floral. So you've got floral, you've got earthy, and you've got semi-sweet. Paired with the banana kind of dessert notes that you get off this, now you've got a balance because you've got earthy and floral over here, and you've got sweet and kind of fruity over here. Where they intersect, you're going to taste different things out of each one, and that's exactly what you want.
Gotcha.
But if you're drinking a super smoky scotch from Islay, right, and you've got a
Islay.
and you've got a super peppery, earthy flavor bomb from Nicaragua, and you're pairing those. Yeah, your palate's going to have a lot to fucking compute, but is that a good experience, right?
Probably not.
No, exactly. So with a really earthy, peppery, bold Nicaraguan cigar, I would go with something like a Malbec or a Cabernet. Right. Something to smooth those tones out from the cigar and something for the cigar to play accent to. Pairing is about complement. It's not about finding two things that are the same. If you put the two poles of the magnet together, they're going to repel each other, right? You want opposites so that they create a combined experience.
So let's do a quick rundown of your line, because are all of these, this is your entire line?
Yeah, we have 8 cigars in our lineup.
Real quick, we're getting very close to the end.
Yeah, it's
most of these cameras, but
no worries.
That,
yeah, so all your line.
Trying to make a
quick of what each of them would in your opinion, would pair with a type of whiskey?
Okay.
So like a Scotch or a smokier or a peaty, spicy.
I'm going to make it super easy on you. Super easy on you. If you take any Apostate cigar and you pair it with an American bourbon, you're fine.
Really?
Okay. There are obviously going to be pairings within that realm that work better based on which cigar and which bourbon you have. But if you take an American whiskey, American bourbon, and pair it with an Apostate cigar, you're fine.
Let's go Scotch, rye, bourbon.
Okay, so rye I would pair with probably the Sword of Laban, because the rye is going to be a little bit more peppery and drink a little hotter. Sword of Laban is going to be a little sweeter and softer, right? So now you've got complementing things happening.
Okay.
Where you're not getting a lot of pepper and heat out of this, it's going to soften the pepper and heat of the rye. Both things are going to become more enjoyable. The Connecticut, the Liahona, I would pair that. Honestly, I'd pair that with tequila all the time. It's great. If I was going to pair it with a whiskey or a Scotch or a bourbon, I'd go simple, man. Jameson, you know what I mean? Or it's something, a simple Irish whiskey, Redbreast or Hellcat Maggie. It's a $20 bottle.
Yeah.
Even an amber ale, right? The Feathered Serpent, this is an interesting one. I really only like to pair this with coffee. Or a stout.
Really?
See that?
What about an Irish whiskey?
I smoked a couple of those yesterday,
Right?
and the coffee would have been spot on. Like an Irish coffee.
A single shot espresso or an Irish coffee, even with the creamy notes. But
that would go good with that.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go to the rack like tomorrow.
Dude, yeah. What the hell?
Or if you want to try something really interesting, pair the Feathered Serpent with like a stout, like a nice imperial stout, right? The Deseret is our top selling Maduro. I've paired that cigar with everything you could think of, and it's never been bad.
Nice.
I prefer that one with a Malbec or a Cabernet, instead of a spirit.
Okay.
But again, rye, whiskey, or Scotch, I'd probably just go pretty straightforward. The Old Forester would be great. I like Woodford with the Deseret. The Woodford Reserve is really good.
Yeah.
So more of a smokier taste.
Yeah, the 1792 is really good.
Oh yeah, the 1792. Yeah, small batch. Yeah, that'd be.
So we have the Zarahemla. That's our Pennsiliana broadleaf.
You know your whiskeys, man. That's actually that's pretty impressive that you said 1790. Yeah. A lot of people don't actually recommend that.
Dude, why would you wait in line to buy Pappy's for triple the cost when you can buy 1792 and have everything you want out of Pappy's?
Okay. You know your whiskey. Okay. Gotcha. Even that people don't understand.
For a while. Yeah.
That's actually really impressive. I like that.
Well,
the other one real quick I'll mention is the Zarahemla. That's our orange band. It's the box press. That one has a Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper and a Cameroon binder. It kind of reminds me of like a gingerbread because you've got kind of a bready sweetness and almost like a cinnamon baking spice is what it reminds me of when I'm smoking it. That one I would pair with a Scotch. Not an Islay though. Speyside. For sure. Something not super smoky. Yeah.
Can you kind of summarize
similar
to the video you did?
You can clip that one out.
That was just for Kendrick.
Yeah. It was an inside joke.
You hear that, Kendrick? He's drinking Glenfiddich. What was your question?
Similar to what you did yesterday, if you could walk us through the components of your new cigar. And then
you have a new release coming out?
So we don't have a new release coming out. We have all 8 blends that are in our core line are now out and have been out since the last PCA. What we're doing next is a re-release of all 8 blends, but in a singular Corona size. So instead of having a unique size for each blend like we do right now, all 8 blends will be coming in a Corona. This is the Liahona in a Corona size. So that's what's coming next. We're also releasing some cigarillos. Which cigar do you want me to talk about the components of? The one we did yesterday?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of because I have all that footage. So
so the Liahona
kind of walk me through there are this many tobaccos inside one cigar.
Yeah.
This is how we choose.
And here's why that matters.
Yeah, and here's why that matters.
So yesterday we were so lucky to be invited to the Racketeer to do a blending seminar. The luck abounds for me, right? So
lucky. You're such a lucky guy.
That was destiny, brother.
Destiny.
Destined to
be at the Racketeer yesterday and do a blending seminar with Paul and his crowd. So what we did is we featured our Connecticut blend, which is unfortunately is often overlooked in our lineup because it's the smallest of our blends and it's the mildest of our blends. So what we did is we took all 4 of the filler leaf components that are in that cigar. And we got those individual filler leaves rolled up in the binder and wrapper. So you're tasting the wrapper, the binder, and each individual filler. There are 4 fillers. And we will go through the line and smoke each leaf and kind of talk about the characteristics and uniqueness of each leaf. So the first one we smoked was a Seco. It's a Criollo seed. It's from the Canela farm in the Dominican Republic. The tobacco out of that farm is typically considered a little more earthy, and canela is the Spanish word for cinnamon. And when you smoke tobacco from that farm, you kind of taste a little bit of a baking spice. It's a very cinnamon note, right? So we smoked that component first, all by itself. The second one we smoked was our other Seco filler from Paraguay, which we didn't know existed until we blended that cigar. And you can attest to the fact that when you smoke the first one and then you move to that Paraguay, you instantly get a completely different flavor profile off that. It's kind of buttery. It's got some creamy texture to it. It's sort of round out the whole high note section of that cigar, right?
Well, and what impressed me was if you go to the second one and you go back to the first, you taste floral notes in the first.
The first one changes.
You didn't taste before.
Really?
So as you're tasting these different leaves, you're actually getting more complexity from the contrast. Way that they work together.
Yeah, the contrast between leaves matters because that's what creates the complements, right? It's just like pairing wine with food. So the contrast creates what's complemented in the flavor profile. So like you said, that first one, when you smoked it by itself, maybe you tasted some floral notes, but it was a little more earthy to me. And then you taste number 2, which is buttery and creamy and kind of rich for a Seco from Paraguay. You go back to number 1 and you're like, holy shit, I'm tasting stuff that wasn't even there.
Pulled all the notes out.
Pulled every note out, which is exactly what a pairing is supposed to do. And then you add the third element. The third one was our Criollo seed from Jacagua that was Viso. Viso is a little bit thicker. It's a little more oily. It's a more stout portion of the plant, right? So that farm is known for producing tobacco that's a little bit sweeter. So you taste that sweet leaf, that Viso that's thick and oily. And then you move back to number 2 from Paraguay and it's buttery and it's creamy. And then you move back to number 1 from Canela and it's a little spicy and a little earthy and a little floral. Now you started kind of creating a symphony, right? You've got your bass, your mid, your treble. You're all coming together. So then you add in the Ligero number 4 that's from the same Jacagua farm as the Viso. It's the same Criollo seed as the Viso, but that Viso and that Ligero taste completely different, right? That Ligero is more stout. It smokes a little more spicy, a little more peppery. And then you take all 4 of those little components, 2 in each hand, smoke them together, and kind of do what we're doing in the blending room, see if everything plays off each other the way we want it to, and if it's all complementary and it's all coming together. And then you got the Big Lebowski rug of the San Andreas binder, and then that nice, soft, mild Ecuador, Connecticut wrapper. Suddenly you got a fucking cigar, right? And you're like, well, that's why every leaf matters. Because if you take out one leaf, if you take off that wrapper, you take out that binder, you take out any of those 4 fillers, it's not the same blend. It falls a little flat of the final goal. And that's what we spend our time doing is like...
Well, it's finding the equilibrium of all of the complementary notes.
Yeah, you have to find a finished product, and you can't get to a finished product if all of the components don't work together. So that's, for us, when we're down there blending, we're spending as much time as it takes, tasting as many filler leaves as we need to find the ones that play with each other the right way to give us the flavor profile we have in mind. So... yeah, that was really fun yesterday to sit with that crowd and walk them and see everybody's face. We're like, holy shit, I had no idea one leaf would change the flavor that much.
This is how much intention goes to creating one cigar.
Yeah, it takes time.
It's crazy.
Man. Yeah.
And people who had never been part of that had no idea.
No, exactly.
We got to create your content, brother. That would be a great fucking story on social media to do. One of these days we should like riff off each other, man, because holy shit, that would be... That'd be a content that like I would watch, bro.
What have we been doing this whole time? We haven't been riffing off each other.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, we'll clip all this stuff out, but man, imagine what you should do when you go back is like create what you just did, but like systematically in like in a social media aspect, and just create a series, bro, and just fucking be like point A to point B, man. That'd be fucking amazing.
That is there is a whole lot of cigar content out there to digest. And also, like, while I want to give an educational experience in a lounge setting and bring value to the people who have traveled or purchased a ticket to be in that setting, the last thing I want to do is alienate that crowd by putting that information online for anyone to watch from their shitter. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, but we're already gonna produce content that kind of
we can play with the idea, absolutely. And I'm so lucky to have met you guys.
Dude, that's super lucky.
So lucky.
You have a data nerd here with a content expert there.
All right. So, assuming all the cameras are still filming, can you shout out your socials? We got to wrap up.
Yeah, and then that middle camera is going to be the main.
It's this one.
It's Apostate Cigars. That's it. That's all. Look for Apostate Cigars. Google it. Throw it in Instagram. Put it on Facebook. Put it in your email. You'll find us. It's Apostate Cigars.
Sweet, man. Hey, thanks for coming on, man. This has been a freaking blast,
yeah,
brother.
all sarcasm aside, you guys are great. This is fun.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I feel really blessed. Yeah, I'm super lucky to.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, man.
Hung out.
Destiny, man. Destiny.
It was destiny, brother. All right, guys. So that's been this episode of Whiskey Business Podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
See you next time.
Peace.